Okay. Yeah, like
Yeah.
1, 2.
Hi,
Hi guys.
So, welcome to our live chat.
Tune in with Ran and Dave.
Let's
unzip a topic.
So, I am Devapriya.
I'm Ranjini, and we are here today to bring to you episode
Yeah.
3.
Yes,
Yeah.
episode number 3. And what is our topic today, Ranjini?
So let's share our screen first. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
So let's start with 1.
So today is going to be an exciting episode because we have not one but 2 panelists are waiting for us
Exactly.
to share a lot of exciting informations regarding our topic today.
Mhm.
So
I'm sharing my screen.
yes.
So yeah.
So this program is powered by.
All right. So this program is powered by MyNet's Malaysia's best online learning platform, and the link for this website is available in the comment box at the end of the show.
Yeah. So do check out that link.
Okay.
And yeah.
Before we're going to introduce our title and our panelists, our lovely panelists today, Priya, I actually Googled about our topic today.
Okay.
So I started with asking Mr. Google, what is language? So when I typed in and Mr. Google answered me this. Language is a method of human communication, and it says that either spoken or written in a structured manner using words in a structured manner and conventional ways.
Okay.
But Priya, do you know how many languages are there in the world?
Yes, you know what, I do check out in Mr. Google as well. So what I found out is around 6,500 languages are roughly, it's roughly 6,500 languages being spoken in the world today.
That's
That's
a huge
amazing. Like
number.
how many languages that we know?
Yeah.
I think I know just about 3 to 4 languages. How about
Yeah,
you?
what are those?
I think I know English, Malay, Tamil, of course, and a little bit of Hindi. Yeah.
But I think I'll be this. I share the same language.
All right.
There will be Tamil, Malaysian Tamil, I would say,
Yeah.
English, and what else?
Malay,
and Hindi. Yes, a bit of Hindi, a bit of Indonesian language, Filipino, and many more. But that's how variety languages are. We have in the across the globe. So another one thing is that when I typed on how many, what are the most used language in the world, and Mr. Google said Mandarin topped the ranking, and that was followed by Spanish, and the third is English.
Okay.
So
it's in the top 3 position.
Yeah. And that is what we're going to bring it to you today. We're going to share it to you about English, and that's our topic. And our first panelist was going to sit together with us and discuss about it's time to revise our English is Ms.Denise Driver. She has international background in banking and charity works, and she's a Boogie English representative for Southeast Asia. How about the second panelist?
Okay, the second panelist that will be joining us today is Ms.Anita Spring from Canada. So she is a Canadian education specialist and also co-founder and global education sponsor a child with Boogie English. So we are very honored to have both of them in our live today.
Yeah. Actually, we are both really humbled to have both Ms. Denise and also Ms. Anita. And Ms. Anita is coming live all the way from Canada, and it's about 6:30 a.m. today. So without delaying, let's invite them. So let's do this.
Let's do this.
I'm so excited. So
6:30 a.m. Okay.
Yeah. While I'm dealing with this, I need to stop sharing my screen.
These 2 beautiful ladies are already here for us. Hi, Denise. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Denise. Hi, welcome to our show.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and that will be good evening to Miss Denise and good morning to Miss Anita.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Fine, thank you. Fine, thank you.
How about you, Denise?
Fine, thanks. But whereas with Anita, it's early morning. Here it's quite late in the evening, so a big time difference. So Anita, thank you very much for getting up early for us.
It's my pleasure. It really is truly my pleasure.
So sweet of that.
All right.
So
thank you.
Yeah. Shall we start with our session?
Sure, why not?
All right. So we have a few questions we would like to ask your opinion, your feedback, so that we can actually share your experience. You have so much of experience in this industry, and especially about English. And we really would like to bring all your experience and knowledge to our show and our viewers. So we'll start with perhaps I'll direct this to Ms. Anita Spring, and that will be English is an international language, yes, as I mentioned in the introduction earlier. So, apart from this reason, why is English so important? As in, like, in which context it plays an important role, Miss Anita?
Well, as you two pointed out, Mandarin is the most widely spoken language. Spanish is second, which I'm very pleased to hear, because right now I am studying Spanish.
Oh,
And I'm getting quite good at it, if I do say so. And English is third, I think you said.
Yeah.
Although I think Spanish is spoken in, or English rather, is spoken in more places. So even though there are more people perhaps who speak the other languages, English is a broader language around the world. So, so what does that mean for people who can communicate? At least have a basic fluency in English and can communicate with other people. Well, what that means is that they can communicate with people around the world, especially these days with social media and applications like this and like Skype. And in communicating with people, they can form friendships and relationships that were never possible before. And another important thing that I think is right now with the lockdown, it's not quite as applicable, but you can travel almost anywhere in the world and you're going to find someone who speaks English. That's especially true in the hospitality industry. So you can feel confident if you know English to go anywhere in the world, and you can go to a hotel or a restaurant and someone will be able to understand you. And that's really important. That gives the sense of community, accomplishment. It puts you at ease, okay? And being able to travel like that really opens up and broadens your perspective on the world and other cultures, which is really important. You can also watch, I think all of you know that there are a lot of programs, documentaries, podcasts, videocasts like this, where English is spoken. And if you can understand that, imagine the world of learning and viewing and enjoyment that opens up to you. That's just sort of the basic for anyone who knows. But if you have a really good understanding and fluency in English, well, that opens up a whole other world, because then you can perhaps get a job with a multinational company within your own country, or you can get a job in another country, which is always exciting. And again, you get to experience those cultures firsthand. Yeah. And you can even start your own company, which is wonderful, because through social media and all the friendships and relationships that you develop by speaking English, you have a huge customer base, and you can actually reach out to customers who speak English all over the world for your product, whatever it may be. So that's just sort of a snapshot of anything, of all the things that are possible if you know English.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what Ms.Anita says that if you know English, if you're fluent in English, you can just you can travel confidently across anywhere, any countries in the world.
And there's so many advantages, by knowing the language.
Exactly.
So it's very insightful, Ms. Anita. Thank you for the explanation. So we're moving on to another question. This question is for Denise.
Yeah.
So Denise, I like to see that. So Denise, our second question sounds like this. So based on your vast experience, having worked in various countries in the world, how would you scale, maybe in percentage, the usage of English versus other languages? Is my question is clear?
Yep.
Well, thank you. And that's very good.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you. And that's a very interesting question. And I also use Google. And when I was preparing for this chat show, I came across a very interesting statistic, which is that it took over 200,000 years of human history for the world's population to reach 7 billion. However, it has only taken 50 years for English to become the native language or preferred second language of 1.4 billion people, or 20% of the global population. And as English is now the dominant international language for business, communication and entertainment, only very rarely would you now find yourself in a place where English is not widely spoken.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Okay. So is that's I think like Denise has like experienced living in many other countries, and she, I mean, of course, I personally have met Denise, and she always shares about how differences in culture, but they still use English, and that's how it connects. And there's one interesting thing that Denise told me is that how I could travel and get involved in the social activity there is because she knows English.
Okay,
yeah,
obviously.
So yes, that's. Thank you very much for that, Dennis. And being a native speaker, was there any significant, how would I put it, like difference in English language used in those countries? I mean, those countries you have been, worked before, and was there any difference in terms of variation? Dialects, accent, and varieties. Perhaps you can share some examples to us.
This would be interesting.
Well, with English, the main difference in the language is that between UK English and American English. And it's very interesting to note that the first colonial Americans went from speaking England English to American English just one generation after the first English started arriving in America, which shows how quickly an accent and a dialect can develop. And it's also interesting to note how quickly new words and expressions enter the global vocabulary. Like, for example, had any of us heard of flattening the curve before March? But literally overnight, people all over the world were expecting their governments to do exactly that, to help rid us of the virus. And well, as for accent, we all speak English with an accent. Even the English speak English with an accent. And I have to say that I always find it amusing when English people try to claim the English language as their own, as English actually originated as an Anglo-Saxon language on the European continent, in the region now roughly covered by northern Germany, Denmark and the Netherlands, and only spread to England in the 5th century AD. So even today, 80 of the 100 most common English words are Germanic in origin. And even the word English is a Germanic word. So I'm saying this, just to, stress the point that English is a universal language. It's now spoken all over the world. It belongs to all of us, not just one particular country.
That's
All right.
that is really something new for me,
it's
actually.
news for us.
I mean, like, I have this impression that English actually started at the UK.
The UK, yeah.
That's our impression.
the opposite.
Before we actually, got about it, of course. And I mean, until we hear to you today, because here when we were in school in Malaysia, what we often refer to UK English, and that's how in our education system is. So I think it's somehow like registered in our mind that English started
from
there.
UK,
Yeah. So that's something new for us. I'm sure it's also for very informative news for you guys who are watching us.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Moving on to our next.
Before that, we have a good number of 40 plus of viewers, live viewers here. So to all the viewers, if you guys have any questions regarding our topic today, it's time to revise our English. So please do free to comment your questions in the comment box, and we will attend the question at the end of the show. Yes.
Yeah.
So our next question is for Ms.Anita Spring. So literacy in English. Okay, literacy in English, having the skill to read, write, and speak, to understand and create meaning. So there are people who are left behind in this. So in your opinion, what could be the factors to this issue actually?
Yep.
Yeah, they have in the U.S. In their education, no one left behind. But unfortunately, really in a classroom setting, being left behind is often the case. And I was a teacher for 10 years in middle school and junior high school, and I found that I understood the importance of foundational blocks of learning, and that I wanted to make sure that all of my students knew the basic concepts before I moved on. But sometimes if you're in an institutional setting like that, you have bell rings, you got to move on to the next class, even if you haven't, everybody hasn't grasped the concept. There's time constraints, you have large classes, that sort of thing. It really makes it difficult. And as much as teachers try, these kinds of constraints make it very difficult to keep everybody learning at their own pace and understanding everything as they move forward. And whether it's a history class or a math class or a language learning class, you need the basic building blocks to create and to really become proficient in something. So this was always a drawback. I know a lot of parents, and I myself have tutored people in the English language, and having a tutor is great if you can afford it, if you have time, if you can set your schedule to or travel to the tutor's home, whatever. Not always possible. So this getting left behind has always been something that's been an issue for learning, especially in language learning. So individualized learning answers this problem. It just does. If someone can learn at their own speed, in their own way, in their own time. Some of us are morning people, some of us are afternoon people. I know some of my students were,
nocturnal species. Yeah.
all they had for breakfast was a Coca-Cola, right? And they're hyper like this and they can't concentrate. So if someone has a way in which they can do their learning in their own time, in their own way, it's really, really important. And they don't have to move on when the bell rings. They don't have to move on and try to learn new concepts when they don't even have the original ones. Right? Excuse me, it's early and I'm out of breath. Anyway, so technology today has answered that problem. Okay, because now we have apps, we have ways in which people can learn at their own speed, in their own way. And I must say that the method of pedagogy, teaching in a classroom, is not always the best way to learn. And I'll address that in another question more thoroughly. But yeah, the original, and this is not to put it down because I was a teacher myself and I felt these constraints. But technology, I know from my own language learning. And by the way, Denise, I totally concur with what you said about English being a Germanic language, because in university I took German for 3 years. And as much as they convolute their sentences and that, you can make huge lists of words that are the same in German or very similar mnemonic. to English. And I'm finding in Spanish, so many words are the same as English. French. So Germanic languages, Romance languages, all of them have English words in them. So English is really a conglomeration of so many different influences around the world. And so in a lot of ways, it may be easier than a lot of people think to learn because they will be able to recognize a lot of words. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation. I think when we talk about this, left behind in this English, I would just like to briefly want to share about my experience because I am from a vernacular school. So my communication and the language that we use even in syllabus was Tamil.
Yeah.
So when I moved on the higher secondary school, it was really challenging for me, to adapt to the new syllabus. I mean, the medium language is English. So it was really challenging for me to go through that pace. So I really started to speak. Even though it's wrong or my grammatical mistake, but I continued to speak in English so that I can improve my language because at those times, as you said, Anita, we don't have applications like what we have right now. So now it's so modern and so we have a lot of technologies. So where people can eventually learn English in a right way in a lot of mediums. But those days that was really challenging. So your explanation was like amazing. I really like. I went to brought my memories.
I mean, by the way, like vernacular system. I mean, in Malaysia we have a vernacular school system is like the Tamil. I mean,
the medium language will be our mother tongue, Tamil.
So we have
Mandarin,
Tamil school and Chinese school, and we have this national school where the main language of communication will be our official language, which is Bahasa Melayu. And I am from Bahasa. I mean, I also struggled on that as well. Because my second language was Malay language. So I spoke that as early as 7 years old, and I started to speak English when I actually get into how would I put it, like a school in the city area, and where they use English more than Malay, and that's when I started to learn English. So that of course,
a little bit of our memories.
Flashbacks,
yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to our next question. So this will be directed to Ms.Denise.
Smiling lady.
I mean, in Malaysia, like there's a statistic in Malaysia which states that one of the reason for unemployability among adults in Malaysia is because lack in mastering the English language itself, and this situation is actually feared, to on their ability to cope up with modernization. And of course, now we have Industrial 4.0 and so many career itself. So please elaborate on this and share perhaps what is the consequences if one can't and could not are not proficient in English. Denise.
Okay, well, it's a fact that the best jobs in non-native English-speaking countries tend to go to English speakers, and in certain sectors such as tourism and banking, English is a must. It's also a fact that with national borders becoming increasingly blurred due to globalization, the importance of English will only continue to increase. And then there is also the fact that speaking English doesn't only improve a person's study, employment and business prospects. English is the world's most commonly spoken second language. The ability to communicate in English can greatly broaden a person's global perspective. Then, as for modern technology, social media in particular, English is definitely the language of choice. Like in some regions of the world, people still prefer to speak and write in their native language, of course. But when it comes to social media, they almost always use a local form of so-called chat English or social media English.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So
So
that's true, actually.
Yeah.
When there are so many applications like social media, Instagram. We have Instagram and we have Twitter, everything. So most the language used most is English.
English, of
Yeah,
course.
and not to forget that I think we'll bring that also on the usage of all the short forms that all the modified English that you can see in social media. That's another topic that we will discuss perhaps later. So let's move on to the next question. Yeah.
So our next question
Ms.
is also for Ms. Denise. So for those who falls under poor and moderate category in terms of proficiency in English, so could you please elaborate us on how can they improve actually in this issue, Dennis?
Okay, well, as some of you know, I'm involved with an innovative English learning app for children called Woogie English, and it's the interactive nature of Woogie and the way the product has been designed to cater to individual learning needs that makes it a great way for children to learn English. Like some children here in Malaysia and in neighbouring countries will have very limited knowledge of English at the outset, but Woogie English makes it easy for them to start the learning process by having a multiple language user interface. So the Woogie English interface is already available in Malay, Chinese, Tamil, Hindi, and Indonesian, and additional languages can be added as the need arises. Um, as for improving poor or moderate English, Boogie English contains a built-in real-time evaluation system, which makes it easy for progress to be monitored, and it also analyses each child's results and prioritises the words and phrases they get wrong. So this means that, let's say a child gets a particular word wrong in one of the easy quiz challenges, well, um, that question will come up more often and in the medium and hard challenges. And another very important thing to keep in mind is the need to actually be speaking English while you are learning the language. And Wiki English offers children plenty of opportunity to practice speaking English as they progress through the 45-unit course. Then, of course, it also helps enormously if a person learning English is able to practice the language in real life situations. So, for children, ideally, this means in the home, classroom, and playground. So, just completely immersing yourself in the language as you're learning it.
Awesome,
Right,
awesome. Okay, so now that's. Earlier we were saying that those days we don't have any technology.
Yes,
So it looks like that's a technology to solve, especially those who are non-native English speaker,
yes.
and how you can easily learn English from either from Tamil or Chinese and a few others which Denise has shared.
So at one point she insists that it should start from the earlier stage itself, from the children itself, so that they won't have to face this kind of problems that we have faced, Ranjani.
Okay.
So that was really an information.
Insightful.
Yeah,
Yes.
insightful as well.
So, Ms.Anita, a question to you is that, of course, referring to what Ms. Denise has mentioned, could you please share, based on your knowledge, on suitable methods, technology programs or courses which could foster English language learning among kids and adults? Because the reason is like like for an example, there are people who, you know, until they reach 20 or they started their career, they still left behind in terms of speaking in English. And I would say that at different stage, I mean different age group faces this problem. So it's quite a general and wide issue that which we have to attend. So perhaps you can share for the kids and for the adults some suitable programs, technologies, and etc.
Okay. Yeah, as Denise said, there is a technology out there, and Denise and I are both very familiar with it, and it's called Woogie English. And Woogie English allows a child from a very young age to acquire English. Now, I say acquire because acquisition of English is a lot different than learning English. It doesn't mean memorizing long lists of vocabulary. It doesn't mean hours and hours in a classroom learning grammar, because neither of those are enjoyable for anybody. I think you would agree.
Yeah.
And I'm sure both of you had a lot of that. I did too. So acquisition, hear it, speak it, okay? And you acquire it subconsciously, in context, in stories. Stories have always been told, fables and stories and things like that. Cartoons. These are a lot of the ways that children and adults, let's face it, can learn a language. And suddenly they find themselves being able to say something, and they don't really understand why or how they know, they just do. And it's because they've experienced it on an application. Especially Woogie English, to my mind, because I have looked at a lot. I'm always online looking at different English courses and Spanish courses and that sort of thing. And the ones that are most effective are the ones that employ the learning technologies that and applications that are in Woogie English. And we said the children get to hear it in a context that's fun and enjoyable for them. They actually have control over what they're doing when they're doing it. They get to engage, they get to speak, they get to practice their pronunciation, they get to practice their spelling. All of these things are very important. But I think that Woogie English is so important because what it does is it allows children to learn grammar. It allows them to learn words, and they get building blocks. Those words become phrases. The phrases become sentences. Okay, that is how you learn. Through it's like a puzzle or building a house. You get a block and you add another block and you add another block, and that is the most effective way of learning. So Woogie English, and I know there are other courses out there, and I have tried lots of them because I want to compare, and they all offer something. But so many of them are still based on grammar and vocabulary lists and things like that. And basically, I think it's important that you learn how to do something before you learn the why of it. Grammar classes and things like that and lists, they are learning the why. Why do you say it this way? Well, when we are young, when we are children and we're acquiring our mother tongue, we're not asking our parents to explain the grammar of I need to go potty, right? You acquire the language, you acquire the skill and the comfort and the ease of using the language. So I would concur with Denise that Woogie English offers all of those things that I have found are so important. I have found someone online who teaches Spanish, without so much memorizing grammar and all those things, but there aren't the stories, there aren't the things that Woogie English provides. And I really wish that there was a Woogie Spanish.
No?
Okay. But, it's really a wonderful, wonderful application, and I'm so happy that it's here for the children of the world to have a fun and effective way to acquire the English language.
Yeah, that's awesome. But is there any programs? Is Woogie English is suitable for adults? Or are there any other suggestions of courses or
Yes.
methods they can use? Like, for an example, perhaps like listening to like
Oh, the audiobooks, you mean?
audiobooks or anything of that sort.
Okay, so yeah, there are all sorts of ways that you can improve your language learning. Just got a list here. You can listen to music. That's an enjoyable way of picking up words in the way. Adults can watch documentaries. They can watch films. There are all kinds of podcasts and videocasts on YouTube. And it's important to read, even for the children or the adults. As they acquire a few of these building blocks, they need to read. Some people say they learn how to write English best by reading. Okay, because they see the words and sentences combined together in a context that is meaningful for them. And they see the way, especially if they read good material or listen to good material, they get to hear and they get to see exactly the way English should be, words and phrases should be combined into sentences. And so, and yeah, vocabulary is very important. So learn your vocabulary, but learn it in a context that is meaningful. Because if you, we do not remember very well lists of words, but if you put, if you take a word and you add it to another word, like I need or something, and then you add it to, well, what do you need? Well, when do you need it? Okay, so you add the adverbs and the adjectives and all the different things, and that way you're learning grammar in a way that's enjoyable and fun. So read, watch, listen to music, practice writing, practice your spelling. Spelling is really important. It's more important than a lot of people think. I know for a while, I don't know the rest of the world, but I know here in Canada, teachers started saying, well, spelling isn't important, just write down what it sounds like to you. But spelling is very important. If you want to look professional, if you want to really have a grasp of the language, spelling is very important. And Woogie English happens to have spelling in it. Okay? The children have a fun way in a game, sort of like a game, they get to learn how to spell words. So very important. So reading, writing, and speaking with other people, as Denise said, getting out into the playground or out into the workforce. And what I've noticed is that dialogue is very effective. And throughout all of the Woogie lessons, there's always dialogue. There's people asking questions and then people responding. Like even starting with as simple as, hi, how are you? I am fine. Okay, so questions and answers, or someone will comment and someone will respond to that comment. So you get the feel of everyday speaking, everyday interaction with other people in a language through this app. And so obviously I'm not a singer, I would learn how to breathe better. Anyway, it's very important. And challenge yourself with more complex reading material as you progress. But don't read, very important, don't read and don't try things that are beyond your scope at that time, because you become disillusioned. Very important. That is why Woogie has easy, medium, and hard quizzes and challenges. You know, start with the easy. When you're comfortable with that, work up to the intermediate and the hard, and that is the best way to learn a language. Always feel comfortable and just acquire new words, new phrases, new sentences. And you will feel confident, you will feel like you can take on the world, and indeed, if you have a good ability to communicate in English, you can take on the world.
Yeah. That's a handful of a long list of methods, technologies, and courses which can help. And also, I believe that this will be very, very useful for all of us, including myself. Actually,
What will be your favorite method?
Okay, usually, right? I love to practice speaking.
Okay.
I do that a lot. I mean, until now, even before our program, I've been like practicing. I practice because
Speaking to yourself?
Yes. I'll look. I'll just stand before a mirror. Then I'll speak to myself. Yeah, I'll do that, especially when, of course, the points are all will be in my mind, but how I want to
Put it into
yeah,
words.
put it into words and convey it to the people that really need practice. So this is one of the things that I'll do. How about you?
Yeah, I like to listen to musics and movies. I think the most the methods that I
Yeah.
used before this. So I don't think so. I will talk to myself.
Well, I'm still sane.
All right.
All right. Okay.
So-
That's fantastic sharing, and I think there's one. But before that, I mean, we have been doing like some sharing on our page. So we came across a very interesting video. So if you allow us, we'll share this to our viewers. Just a moment, and I'll just open it up. It's in our Facebook. So
it's quite funny as well.
it's funny. I'm not sure though if it was intentionally done,
yeah,
but.
The point is,
Yeah, it's true that there are some people who knows how to spell words,
yes,
but they pronounce it differently. It's I'm not exactly sure, perhaps the way I mean, like in the internet you can have the option where you can listen to the voice, how to pronounce it.
Yes.
But sometimes it's how the word reached them the first time, perhaps in the school or whoever who taught them that word, and that will stick in their mind and they will use that pronunciation. So this is just a quick sharing. I'll just do that.
Yeah.
While you can connect with them, I'll just try to share this
So
screen.
here
Okay.
is-
So I'll do
Okay.
a sharing. Let me try to share this stream yet. I'm getting better at it. Okay,
Yes, you're almost
Chrome
there,
tab
almost there.
and there, and I'm going to share this.
Wow.
I believe you. So Ms.Denise,
See the
and
share screen?
are you able to see our
Able to
Facebook
see?
page?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. All right. So I'll just play this.
This is the most simple thing.
I'm not sure. Okay, just close that. So that was just for fun. I mean, the source of the video is actually it was freely available in the Facebook. So
Yeah.
it was just a genuine sharing, and no, with due respect to whoever in the content,
Yes.
it's just for a sharing. I'm not sure it was done intentionally or not, but in real life, it does happen. I mean, where people know how to spell, but the way they pronounce it is probably not how it is commonly pronounced. So perhaps this is an open question for either Ms. Denise or Ms. Anita. Would you like to comment on this? What actually caused this, or any comments on how this can be avoided?
Yeah.
Oh, in the first place, is there any standard pronunciation for a specific word, and where we can refer to like an ultimate reference on how to pronounce words in English?
Denise?
Or Miss Anita, yeah.
Well, as Denise pointed out, there's English from England pronunciation. There is American. There is Canadian, and most countries have so many different, dialects or ways of saying things. Denise, I will point out, you said that within 1 year of landing or going to America, the English changed. And I watched the documentary, and the same is true of New Zealand, your beautiful homeland, Denise. It showed how they spoke British English in New Zealand, and then within a year or two, it changed to its, worked its way to the way it is now. Such an interesting and lovely accent. I would call it an accent. So. I guess there are certain ways to pronounce things, and even if there is an accent or a dialect or whatever, usually it's where you put the stress or how you enunciate the word. Okay, and very important to understand the sounds that go with certain letters when they are combined with other letters in English, and that is just very importantly part of the acquisition of language. You need to hear it spoken. You need to hear it pronounced the right way. Now, that person who was spelling engineer, well, G is good, right? Engineer. But it isn't that way in English. So it's exposure, it's acquisition, it's practice. English is funny that way. You've got to have lots and lots and lots of exposure to it. Written English for children is the perfect way because all the words are enunciated very clearly. The pronunciation is correct, and even if it isn't in a British accent or an Australian or a New Zealand accent, it is still clearly spoken so that the children can hear the proper pronunciation. I think it's a matter of just applying yourself. You've really got to want to learn it, and you've got to, as Ranjini says, get in the mirror and practice if that's what it takes. And learning another language, very importantly, is learning how to get your mouth around the words. If you speak German, you have to speak like this, Your mouth.
Yeah.
English, sometimes we can just talk like this and we hardly move our mouth, and
Yes, exactly.
Spanish, you have to roll your R's. English is kind of nice in that you don't have all these. I can't roll my R's, so Spanish. English, you don't have to roll your R's. There are a few things, and we don't have the feminine, masculine, and all those different conjugations in English. So as much as it is a difficult language to learn, there are certain shortcuts in English or ways of saying things that make it easy to learn. So, and idioms. I don't know if you know what idioms mean. Yes. Idioms, very important to learn your idioms. You can even go to Mr. Google and say, what are some common idioms in the English language? And learn them, Yeah, very, very important, because you hear someone say something and it sounds like pure gobbledygook. It doesn't make any sense. And yet in that language, it makes sense because that's just the way they say things. So learn idioms if you can. Very important.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you so much. And we have one last question. I think that it's going to be. We did a polling in
Facebook page.
yeah, on our Facebook page about this. Especially for today in our topic English on but which aspect of English is they find it most difficult. And I mean, we gave an option between speaking and writing, and it was more on actually it was almost the same, I guess. So what we a quick tips, a simple and quick and easy tips which you can share to them on how especially the viewers on how they can improvise the speaking and writing in short, Ms.Anita.
Writing, as I said earlier, do a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
Do a lot of reading. I'm a writer too, and often a lot of the way I write and the way I put sentences together is I find when I start writing is based on things that I have read, things that are really, really well written, that make an impression on me. So read a lot. Okay? Speaking, it's practice. Whether it's to yourself in the mirror or to other people, I think social media is absolutely wonderful for that, because get on a forum like this or Skype, and you find someone who is perhaps another English learner, or someone, maybe you get 3 people on there and one who is a native speaker, and you practice. Really, that's what it comes down to. Practice every single day. Okay, do lots of reading. Take words that you know, add them to other words that you know. Make phrases, then make sentences. Make more and more complex sentences, which are sentences that you would use in everyday life. Okay, for example, I need to go to the store to buy food tomorrow. Okay, so I need, you learn that, to go, that verb, to the store tomorrow to buy food. Okay, so all of those you can learn independently, individually. Learn how to say them, learn how to write them, then put them together with something else. I can't stress strongly enough the importance of building blocks and just having basic tools, basic words that are very important and very common and are used in most sentences to build. They're the glue that holds sentences together. So learn the glue. Learn the words that you see very often. Learn how to say them, and then start adding other words to them, and practice them with other learners and native speakers. There's no excuse these days for not being able to go on a group on Facebook, for example. Reach out to other people and practice your pronunciation. But read really well written things, and that is the way you're going to learn how to write. Speaking is just practice and learning those building blocks and using them to build something wonderful.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Okay.
So
the key thing is
perfect and reading.
Yes. So it's reading, practice, and practice. Yes.
There's no other way, right?
Yes. And don't forget to speak to native speakers. So we have Denise just nearby us, so we speak to her more often. And of course, we can converse with many other your social media contacts who are a native speaker, because it's borderless now. You can just connect to anyone from different part, and start talking to them, start speaking to them, and perhaps a video call or a chat and all those things. And also some like I personally also do this games.
Okay.
I love what's the game's name? Like the crossword puzzles. And what is another one? There's another one. Word search. Word search.
Yes, I do that.
I love that. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So what I usually do is like, Ms.Anita, would you like to add on that?
Oh, there's a game that I play every night before I go to sleep, and it's you just have to find. They give you a bunch of letters, and you have to make words out of them. you know,
Oh, yes.
different lengths of words and that sort of thing.
Scrabble, is it? Scrabble.
Wordscapes. I think wordscapes.
Wordscapes. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very good for the mind. It's very, and it's fun, and you learn a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So I think that I love word search, and I think recently in Facebook, like there will be this feed where the first three words you find that
will be alive for
yeah,
one.
and I actually love that part, you know. So I'll just like quickly search for all those words and like, oh yeah, I
Oh,
found this.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
She have come across that.
Yeah, at
Okay.
least like borderless again.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I think we can go on and on and on. Of course, we're going to like list all those things that we have discussed, and we're going to like put it a summary like of what
Sure.
all the sharing and tips from both Ms. Denise and Ms. Anita. And I guess Ms. Denise, would you like to? We have been talking about this Woogie English in most of our conversation throughout this 45 minutes, or actually past 50 minutes. So perhaps I think this will be a we would like to do a sharing on that. Ms. Denise?
Well, I'll just, repeat what Anita and I have just shared with you about Woogie being a great product for children. I love the interactive side of it.
Sorry, I can share my screen on the
Slides,
about
right?
the Woogie. Just a moment. Perhaps we can have the
Okay.
Yes.
Just a moment. Yeah. I'm still trying to get used to this stream yet. So it's really handy, by the way. Very useful. And let me just a moment. I need to. Okay, so it's open, and now I can open it. I'm getting better at it. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Yes, we have it open, and I'm gonna go full screen. And over to you, Ms. Denise.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is the start screen of Woogie English with the interface and navigational tools appearing in Malay. So, so Malay being the official language of Malaysia, of course, the national language, and also widely spoken in Indonesia. So having a Malay interface was very important, and you can see there like all the features like change account, go offline. The offline side of Woogie English is very important, especially in those parts of the world where the internet isn't that great. So you can just go online and offline at the click of a button. And let's say a child completes several lessons while they're offline, then next time they go online, their like answers and results will be uploaded. And then here we have the interface and the movie subtitles in Chinese. So with Chinese being the second most widely spoken language in Malaysia, probably the most common language in Singapore. Chinese is also very important, of course. And again, these native language interfaces are very, very important for those children with limited knowledge or no knowledge of English at all at the beginning. It just makes it so much easier for them to get started with Woogie English. And I think there is another slide there. Yes, and here we have the Tamil slide, and well, Ranjini and Priya, your Tamil is your native tongue. So yes, I spent the first month of lockdown working on the Tamil interface with these programmers. It's probably one of the most challenging, well, not probably, but it's definitely the most challenging task I've ever undertaken. And I, just can't say enough how much I really admire Tamil speakers for keeping, such a complex language alive. Like, I did my research using Google, of course. I found out that Tamil is more than 2,000 years old, and it would be so easy for Tamil-speaking people to switch to an easy language like English. So yes, the Tamil is now there. We also have Indonesian. We have Hindi. And later on, the interface will also be available in Thai and Filipino. So so just to help the children get started with Woogie.
Uh-huh. That's awesome. We have like quite a number of and
it's so good to see Tamil in an application. It's a.
And I personally have been in touch with Denise throughout this MCO period, and I knew that you were working on several languages, and hats off to you, Denise. You were like really full swing on that, and I was very excited. And actually, I was so motivated to see. You mentioned this to me that I decided to work 12 hours, Ranjini. This is the time I have to really use this time. I have to upgrade the options we have in Boogie English. And guys, viewers, this is the product of her hard work, I would say. 12 hours each day, and now we are coming with more language options in Boogie English. So I guess now it's time for us to attend
the audience questions.
Yeah. So
we have plenty of questions in the comment box.
Yes, perhaps we can just while we are going through, just got to give them some break. It's been a beautiful 1 hour. Thank you so much, Ms.Denise and Ms.Anita. We'll just pick some questions from viewers.
This one?
All
right.
So
the question is from Mr. TJ. So the question is, please share on how Woogie helps kids. Woogie is originated from, and Woogie follows American or British language. Okay.
So I guess Ms. Denise would like to, or Ms. Anita?
I think Denise can take this.
Yes,
please, Denise.
Okay, well, it's Woogie English is just a great way for children to get started with English. It comes as a 35-unit course, and it starts with very basic English. Like the first unit covers courtesy, like hello, how are you, please, thank you. Then it goes on to the alphabet and counting. Then it goes right through to cover hot button subjects like the climate is in there. And the last unit is like how to order takeaway food, which all children need to know how to order their chicken nuggets and French fries. So
I'm hungry.
Yes, so it is topical learning of English, starting with ABC 1, 2, 3. Hello and thank you. Now, Woogie. The question about American or British English, there are about 8 words. 8 words spelled the American way in Woogie English, and I've actually asked if those words can be changed to British spelling, but it's only a slight difference. Like, for example, the word colour, COLOR instead of COLOUR. I know that in the entire Woogie English, all 35 units, 9 lessons per unit, there are only 8 words that are spelt the American way. everything else is in what we call British or UK English.
Okay.
And where it originated from. So Woogie International is a North American company. The company is also registered in Hong Kong. The product development is done in China. We have a great team there, 25 full-time programmers, and I know it will be difficult for Malaysians to believe this after a very long lockdown, but in China, where the programmers are located, their lockdown was even more severe than ours. But the programmers kept working, and they came up with the fantastic translation system, which allowed us to translate the interface into Malay, Indonesian, and the Tamil and Hindi. I've been told that there is no other app like Woogie English, and I'm not just talking about learning English, but no other app out there where you can change from English to Chinese to Tamil to Hindi at the click of a button. So we've got a great development team. They're working on all sorts of exciting things. Like the next big thing will be the real-time report card. It will actually be accessible from inside Woogie English, so that the parents and teachers can monitor their child or the children's progress in real time. So a parent will be able to come home from work and see exactly what their child learned on Woogie English that day.
Yeah, that's a complete explanation about Woogie English, I would say.
Behind this, Woogie.
So I guess that's a power pack answer to you, Mr. TJ. I hope you get it. I think there are more extra points on that. Thank you, Ms.Denise. And moving on to the next question from Ms. Devi Velayudan. Hi, ladies. How could this program benefit the less privileged children? So I guess this question maybe I can direct it to Ms.Anita, as you are the person in charge on SAC. Perhaps this is how it's with you. Sorry.
Yeah, one of the focuses of Woogie English, and SAC was Woogie, of which I am a part. Our focus is indeed to help less privileged children, because we understand that in learning English, their situation can change. That is probably the most important basic thing that will change their situation or give them the ability to change their situation, learning English. At least, the rudimentary, at least up to grade 6, whatever that Woogie English can provide them with. And so also we have found, and Denise pointed this out, the online, offline, we asked Woogie to do that because we were finding in countries around the world where people had very poor or even no internet access, that being able to just download Woogie and then do everything, all of the 35 units, the 9 lessons each unit, offline was absolutely essential. And we said, you've got to do this. Okay, this will not just be for those with really good internet. This has to apply especially to less privileged children. And so they quickly, as Denise said, this team of technicians or technical people is absolutely amazing. And they listen and they respond and they do whatever is required. All of these languages that Denise and you work so hard on, I am most grateful to you. I can't even imagine the work that went into it. But how important is that for children around the world to be able, Hindi, think about India and all the children there that will be able to use the Hindi interface and learn English and be able to do it offline. Now, there's a place in Nepal where teachers will go into the high mountain villages and they would take one computer with Woogie downloaded onto it. And then, because there's no internet there, they are allowed to share that or have the children use it where there's no internet at all. So all of the things that Woogie is doing and the innovations that we are bringing about are designed specifically for everyone, but really, really importantly for less privileged children, so that everyone in the world can have access to this amazing technology.
Yeah. That's an
I think the idea of offline and online.
Yes, that's
is,
really
it can cut
considering
cost the online consumption's cost, so it'd be really helpful for the less privileged children. So,
especially like in Malaysia itself, like there are so many areas, rural areas where internet connection is rather it's quite a challenge for many of them. So having this offline is definitely very, very beneficial and helpful for the less privileged children. And also that we also have a program, SAC, Sponsor a Child program as well, through Woogie English. So more details, to get more details and about this, yes, of course, you can contact. We will share the contact details of Ms.Denise and Ms.Anita at the end of the show. So we'll move to the next question. Thank you for the question, Ms. Denny, and thanks, Ms.Anita. We'll just go to Dr. Puni then. There's one question from Dr. Puni then, yes.
So there is another question.
Yes.
So this question is from Dr. Punitan Chan. The use of technology to teach English in early childhood. What's your advice for parents? So what will be your advice to the current parents to use technology to teach English to their children at this childhood stage? So maybe Dennis can answer for this.
Okay. Well, hi, Dr. Puneetan. Well, I don't think a child is ever too young to start using technology. My 4-year-old great nephew took to Woogie English like a duck to water after he saw his 11-year-old sister having so much fun on the computer. And yes, she was having fun with Woogie English. Then I thought, oh, he's 4 years old and he loves it. Then his 3-year-old sister started using Woogie and she loves it too. She loves recording herself. She loves replacing Woogie in the videos and answering questions on the television programs or television shows that are built into Woogie. So it's all about introducing fun technology, game-based learning of English and other topics to children at an early age, not only to familiarize themselves with technology and to have fun learning it, but to realize they can be learning at the same time as they're having fun, learning without even realizing that they're learning. And it's funny, my 4-year-old great nephew, when I was on Skype with him a few weeks ago, I could tell that he had just completed the unit about clothing, because he's, look, Auntie Denise, blue T-shirt. Look, Auntie Denise, black pants. So he had learned the colours and the idea of clothing and was speaking just like the Woogie. So I think that parents should introduce their children to online learning as soon as possible. And recently in the lockdown in New Zealand, even 3-year-old children were provided with 1.5 hours of quality online education, live education every day.
Exactly.
The 5-year-olds to 10-year-olds, 3 hours of online education every day. And now that the children are back in the classroom, for 4 hours a day, the teacher is standing up at the blackboard. For the remaining 2 hours, they're all sitting at their desk using a tablet or laptop. Now, of course, I know that isn't possible in every country, but again, the sooner they start learning online, the better.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Actually, she answered through the testimonials of what happened in her, the niece and everything.
Okay.
And it's proven during this NCO period,
Yes.
actually,
Yeah.
how technology helps in learning.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Another question. We have another one question from Ms. Tangam. Can we provide boogie English below 5 years old children? How fast children will learn English even their used mother language? I mean, mother tongue is Tamil, Chinese, or Malay.
Okay, Denise, again, I think you're.
Yeah, Denise.
You're the chosen one.
Well, I can just speak from experience. My 3-year-old and 4-year-old nephew, they're having fun using the product. Learning a language is all about repetition. So there is a lot of repetition built into Woogie English. So it's all about listening and speaking. Reading, seeing and reading, touching and doing. The interactive side, it's the interactive side of Woogie English that really appeals to the young children. Like they like clicking on buttons, they like speaking and to the computer, having their recordings played back to them. So yes, children under 5 years can use Woogie English. A few years ago I would have said 7 years and upwards, but no, now I would go down to like sort of 4 years. And of course the involvement of the parents is very important. Once child starts using Woogie English, I believe they should use it every day, even if it's only for 1 or 2 hours a day. And if they complete 1 unit a week, they can go through the whole course in 35 weeks. And like here in Malaysia, we know that 7 and 8-year-old children won't go back to school until next January. So I actually think that if the next 6 months could be spent, with parents introducing, having their children learn Woogie English, it would actually be fantastic, not only for the children, but for Malaysia in general, get all the young children speaking English this year, instead of just sitting around at home, watching TV. Do something meaningful, and come and look back and say, wow, lockdown 2020 was the year that all Malaysian children learned a very valuable lifelong skill.
Yeah.
Awesome. I guess that's it. I think more on the products explanations were given by Ms.Denise, and that definitely answers your question, Ms. Tangam. And I think there are more questions about Boogie English. You can questions to Boogie English regarding Boogie English. We have just shared the contact details of Ms.Denise here. This is her email address, so you can always contact her through her email to ask any questions pertaining to Boogie English. And this is Ms. Anita's email address. So any questions or any questions about Woogie or inquiries or of that sort, you can always contact both of them. This is their contact details, and we will share this email addresses in the comment box at the end of the show. I think it's been wonderful, more than an hour. It's going to be 1 hour and 18 minutes of life. It was a power pack, full and informative, and I don't know. And then thank you so much to these beautiful ladies, and especially Miss Anita. Your morning started with us, I believe. Thank you so much for that. Hope you had a fantastic morning. And Miss Denise, we're gonna come and say hi to you because you're just a few minutes away from us, actually. And I guess we are at the end of the show.
So
thank you so much.
Awesome show, and we're really humbled to have both of you to our show today. So thank you so much again and again. And Anita, what's the time here? Can I know what's the time here? There,
7:49 a.m.
Okay. Good morning and have a fantastic day, Miss Anita.
I will. This has been a wonderful way to begin my day. I'm so pleased to meet both of you, and
thank you so much.
Lovely to see you, Denise, and just thank you for doing this. It's really wonderful to share this kind of information with people. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate you having me on here. It's been a real joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
We really hope to catch up with you in future.
Yes. Hopefully.
I would love to.
Yes. So until then, stay safe, guys, and thank you so much. And until we see you on the next episode, so we will excuse Miss Anita and Miss Denise.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a section.
Wow.
That was so informative. And we gone a little longer today.
Yeah, I think
it's 1 hour and 20 minutes session today.
It was very, very, I would say, like, it was very, it kept us moving. It kept me moving, and I personally learned a lot of things. And it's also a cross-check for me. As the idea of is like, we just want you guys to cross-check on, of course, we all can speak in English, and but it's just that we use social media and of course exposure from many other sources. Sometimes our English tend to be like not really like an English, so it's not at all wrong for us to like take a pit stop and just cross-check whether just make a check on is our English is going good, do we need improvements or what, because after all improving our English is definitely an added point to ourselves. What do you think, Priya?
Yes, that's a skill to enhance for everyone, because as we saw just now, Denise has told what kind of advantages that we got by learning English and use it in a proper way. So we hope this session really give enough knowledge, and it's be very useful to all the viewers. So
what is the personal takeaway that you got from this?
For myself personally, I feel like the only one thing, practice makes perfect, and for master a language, you actually reading is the key point. So I take it as a message today. So how about you, Ranjini?
To me, that number one is like I have this attitude where I stand before a mirror and I speak to myself. So it's actually not wrong at all. Sometimes people say, "Are you crazy?" But hey, Anita says it's not crazy. This is what she's been doing as well. So that's one of the way of you checking yourself. That's number one. And another one thing is that you can do things like. If you don't like reading, and you have to read. That's one of the point Ms. Anita raised. But apart from that, sometimes you may also be like traveling or in a bus, and some of you may tend to get headache or what. You can open up your phone and you can just join. Do the games like word search and so on, because that is what I have been doing, and most of the time, and it really
occupy the space.
And I learned, and along the way, I make it a point that at least once a day, I learn new words. This is how I increase my vocabulary, and the method of how I learn new words. It can be from a word search. It can be from a dictionary. It can be from a conversation with another person. So it's like so many
plenty
things.
Of ways.
Yes. So I guess we should end it. Otherwise, we'll just continue talking. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today, and we are looking forward to meet you. Next week for next episode, and the topic revelation will be on
Wednesday.
Yes, as usual. So we see you guys on Wednesday. I'm Ranjini.
And I'm Priya. We are signing off. This is Tune In with Randy.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Awesome.
No, we're not done.